Now, first story. The technical committee working on the conditions of service for health service workers has presented its report to the Ministries of Health and Employment and Labour Relations. The report, which spells out the terms and conditions of health service workers, is expected to be presented to the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission by June 12 for negotiations and subsequent implementation. The handover of the report comes on the heels of a threat by the country's doctors to resign en masse over the delay by government to institute their conditions of service.
The Ghana Medical Association had earlier threatened to declare themselves out of job over government's delay in finishing them with their conditions of service, which will detail their terms of engagement, both financial and non-financial. The Health Minister, Alex Egbefia, says negotiations will begin immediately.
It is clear that now that we have this document, we will study it, ensure that others also will have a look at it in terms of other institutions and organizations. And once they have done their bit, we will have a document that can be signed by all stakeholders involved in the process. And this will then bring this phase of affairs to an end. And that gives sufficient time for the other agencies to have a look at it, namely the Public Service Department, the Attorney General's Department, and Fair Wages and Salaries. So once they also have some input into it, we are hopeful that we will be in a position to have a document ready for signing very shortly.
Employment and Labour Relations Minister Haruna Idrisu, however, says the process has nothing to do with the threats by the Ghana Medical Association.
Let me assure the GMA that we as government, we are not doing this because of a threat of a strike action, not at all. We are bequeathing to health workers unacceptable conditions of service to be negotiated because we believe it's the right thing to do as a government and a deserving thing and appropriate thing for all health workers. Matters relating to transfer, promotion, salaries, allowances must naturally be determined within an acceptable framework within our labor rules and regulations.
Well, after that ceremony, you would think that the Ghana Medical Association would soften their stance, but so far no, because the Deputy General Secretary of the Association, Dr. Justice Jansen, is maintaining the association still stands by its June 30 deadline to have its members resign bulk if they are not finished with their current conditions of service.
What really matters is the details that will be negotiated by the various groups. Let's say GMA goes to negotiate something on behalf of the doctors. It is the details that we will negotiate and sign that is really what is important. Well, we have made our statements known to the whole world. So we are just cooperating with the processes such that come the day of our deadline, everything would have been satisfied by then.
Which the deadline is 12 June?
No, we said 30th June. We communicated that as far back as November 2014, and we are still on course. We think that we'll give everybody the benefit of the doubt and make sure that the document is well sorted out. I'm just hoping that things will progress between now and the 30th of June, that's all.
Well, the rains are here with us again, and well, there were rains on Tuesday in the capital, and already, well, this seemed to have claimed the life of a 20-year-old woman at Agege, a suburb of Accra. A resident in the area woke up to see the young woman's foot sticking out of an overflowing gutter. Francis Aban has been monitoring the effect of Tuesday's downpour and has filed this report.
We do know from some residents around that she actually fell into this gutter and lost her life. Let's get some more details from someone who saw it happen.
She's a resident in the area, just a girl around, you know.
Okay, okay. Which school does she attend?
She attended school around here, but now I think they said she's at GIG.
GIG?
Yeah, so she was on her way to school.
Okay. Is this the first time there's been an incident of somebody falling into this gutter when it rains?
Yeah, first time.
First time? First time. First
time. I can recall a similar incident about a schoolgirl who nearly got drowned. It took the timely intervention of a hairdresser to rescue her.
I'm at the family house of 20-year-old Frida. She died this morning after falling into a gutter on a very, very rainy morning. The house, everyone here is sobbing, crying, in shock and at, confusion, don't understand what has happened here as to why their relative has passed on so painfully. The mother is here in uncontrollable tears, but she's granted us the interview to be able to speak to her and find out what she makes of everything that has happened. Mama, yes. Good afternoon. Then I'll see you.
Of course, school, government secretariat near what cantonment.
She schools at the government secretariat, the one close to cantonment. She left home at about 4:45 a.m. All of a sudden, I saw a group of people rush here to inform me she has fallen into a gutter. I'm told those who were at the scene were hesitant to take her out of the gutter for security reasons. When I rushed to the scene and checked, it was my daughter. She was pronounced dead upon arrival at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital.
Hospital, yes, some could do on Dr. Shane you. And ye,
This is really difficult for me because I have only 2 children.
Well, more recently, the rains have been pouring not only in other sections of the country, but also the southern sector. And we sought some expert advice at the Meteorological Service Department, and an authority there, Michael Paddy, says the southern sector of the country is likely to get a lot more rains in the coming weeks. He added that although the citizenry are expected to decongest their gutters, flooding in the southern areas is really inevitable.
But the amount of rain, 140 and above, is quite heavy, which will definitely get some places flooded. Even if they try, it will still be flooded. From central region towards the western region, Takrady, Axim, they are expected to continue to experience the rain.
So we'll bring you a lot more as far as that is concerned. Well, police personnel at the Mamprobi Police Barracks are appealing to the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Al-Hassan, to, as a matter of urgency, order for the rehabilitation works to begin in their apartment. Well, this distress call comes in the wake of Tuesday's floods that destroyed property belonging to some 7 service personnel living in those barracks. Well, they say when the rains are constructed or the drains are constructed in the area, it will make flooding a thing of the past and make life in the barracks a lot more easier. Derek Sam has the rest of the story.
In the thick of the night, frogs croak, signaling the presence of water. Today's rains have left most of the police personnel terrified as the rainy season appears to have started in full swing. The whole area is waterlogged and makes it easier for water to stay on their lands. It was difficult walking through the pools of water that had gathered at the barracks hours after the rains had receded. But with the help of a torchlight, I find my way around the area with extreme caution. The area around the police station is filled with mud. The drains are choked. a major reason for the heavy flooding after every heavy downpour. The police personnel tell me they live in discomfort, but they would not speak on camera for fear of losing their jobs. They are, however, hopeful that when the drains are constructed, flooding will be a thing of the past. From what I see, the protectors also need protection from the floods. For Joy News, Derek Ekosam, Mamprobi.
A deplorable state in which the police will have to live. Let's turn attention now to a subject of the DVLA and its compromised situation with the drivers of commercial vehicles, and the authority has denied enforcing the controversial directives on seatbelts in commercial vehicles and acquisition of driver's license criteria procedures. Commercial drivers in several parts of the capital refused to operate on Monday in protest against the directive, leaving many commuters stranded as a result. The chief executive of the DVLA, Rudolph Beckley, at a news conference earlier on Tuesday, assured the drivers that the law is yet to be enforced and urged them to come to the authority for their grievances to be addressed.
We are going to introduce onto our examination platform, like you rightly said, some language structures, so that when you come there, if you want the questions to be asked to you in Twi, all you need to do is to press Twi, and the questions are asked to you in Twi, and the possible answers are also provided in Twi. All you have to do is to tap on the correct one, and off you go. These are the interventions we are bringing on board to ensure that we do not deny anybody who has that skill to be able to manage the vehicle very well. I mentioned in my speech that we, as part of the timeline that we have put together for this particular seatbelt implementation project, we have the first week of June for the fitting of seatbelts, and not for the enforcement on the use of seatbelts. These are two clearly distinct interventions or measures. We are talking about first and foremost fitting the belts before.
We're speaking English. Well, you need to speak a lot more local language then if you have to be fitting your audio facilities with a lot more local language. But the Director of Training and Testing at the same institution, the DVLA, Cheyo Musa, explained the form of training for existing drivers in the acquisition and renewal of driver's license still exists, but would also be better improved.
And we are saying that, yes, the people who are already drivers and are illiterate, you will continue to be in the system until thy kingdom come, your time comes. But those who are coming in, let the standards start with them. So we are not against those people who are already in the system that are illiterate. They will be there. All drivers who want to drive commercial vehicles, commercial, because you are carrying people and they are paying for your services, you should have some measure of knowledge. And it's saying that before we allow you to drive people for money, every year the association for which you belong shall organize training sessions for you. It is not DVLA. It is not that we are saying go to a DVLA school. We are saying that your institution, your organization, will organize training classes for you. And these are refresher, skill-building classes. Then you will come and present to us a document of participation that you have participated in these training programs.
For existing drivers.
For existing drivers, but that is yet to come. We have not even started. So we will have to educate the public yet before we introduce that.
On education, the chairman of the Council of Independent Universities in Ghana is asking President John Dramani Mahama to change the process through which private university colleges acquire a charter to become fully fledged universities. Professor Kwesi Yanka says the current process of affiliating private universities to already existing government ones makes it difficult to attract foreign investors, with implications for the economy in the long run.
Ghana had its first university college in 1948, when the then University College of Gold Coast was established to provide post-secondary education to Ghanaians. After 14 years of affiliation to the University of London, the university gained its autonomy and became known as the University of Ghana. This system of affiliation was adopted to fine-tune post-secondary education in the country. But the chairman of the Council of Independent Universities, Professor Kwesi Anka, says this system is obsolete and does not serve the best interest of the country.
You may be a Methodist University College. You are not granting the degree of Methodist University College. You are granting the degree of University of Ghana or Cape Coast or Care University and so on. Your self-identity is completely lost. If anybody wants to do business with you, invest in your university, he may think twice. Who am I dealing with? Is it with you or with your master? Who are you? You have no identity whatsoever. I've seen so many investors in private, potential investors in private education walking back with their monies because they don't want to deal with private university colleges. They want fully fledged universities. Secondly, the system of university colleges, in the sense of affiliation, you training your students and giving the degree of another university, has been abolished throughout Africa. There is not one single country in Africa practicing this system to which we are clinging. We have clung for so many years. Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, Chad, Niger, Mozambique. It's strange that you attend a conference anywhere and you explain this system to them and say, what, do you still operate this system in this 21st century? It is an obsolete system that no longer exists.
He believes the system of affiliation affects the number of students who apply for admission to the private universities because of the notion that private universities cannot offer the opportunities the public universities offer to their graduates.
It affects intake. Many a time private universities, even as I sit here, we have lots of applications on our desk. It's possible that many of the candidates have also applied to other universities, including the state-owned ones, but will rather wait until they don't get admission to the public universities, and so therefore they decide to apply to us. It may also be purely economic, purely a factor, and a financial factor, namely that they are slightly cheaper, and so therefore it's supposed to be free, if you like, even though it's not free. You pay some user fees, academic user and residential facilities user fees. They think that it's not as expensive as it is. But if you consider the fact that fee-paying students in public universities pay as much fees as they would have paid if they had come to a private university, you realize that there's actually no difference, really, as far as the economic factor is concerned. But yes, it affects our intake because there's a perception that you are a no-good institution. If you were good, you would have been a university rather than a university college.
Professor Yanka also says, despite these challenges, private universities have proved their worth by producing quality graduates. He, however, noted that they are still engaged in dialogue with stakeholders to ensure that private universities are given the same status as public universities.
Well, I guess we all want this to be adequately streamlined so that tertiary education could also be available, accessible to everybody. And the credibility that also comes with it, especially with the certificate that is earned, is also accorded. But let's turn our attention to food insecurity. As Ghana's effort to eradicate food insecurity has been commended, with impressive strides made in the area of halving the proportion and the number of hungry people by 2015. And the country has been cited among 7 others in Africa committed to fighting hunger. The Assistant Director General of the Food and Agriculture Organization, Buka Tijani, told Joy Business that Ghana's strides are very much remarkable.
Ghana has performed incredibly well compared to the 72 countries that have been assessed and that have reached the MDG 1 goal, which really is looking at making half the number of people who go hungry. And any country that has reached the World Food Summit target has also reached the MDG 1 target. And we saw that for Ghana, there seemed to be a very high commitment, political commitment And also there is an increase in investment both by government, the private sector, and also producers, marketers, and processors.
Well, that's Bukar Tijani. He is with the FAO and commending Ghana there for making sure that the commitment towards having hunger has been adequately achieved for the population. And that way for the news, again, is brought to you by Coca-Cola.